In today's Essential Architecture series, we're going to do this simple oil. And if you have attended the Essential Architecture workshop, you have this chart. It's called the Melani Method Scent Logic chart, in which you can start decoding with me. Otherwise, let's get to it. I'm going to open the chart so that I can follow along as well. This particular oil is quite simple in its structure, but it's something that happens frequently with a specific type of oils, and that's why I chose it, because you will see this kind of a combination frequently. And when I say this kind of a combination, I mean very high in monoterpenes, over 50%, and then a little bit of something else, usually a certain percentage of sesquiterpenes and esters, different esters. You will also see sometimes alcohols, but the thing is, a lot of oils that fall into this category have 50% or more of monoterpenes, and then this can vary. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is two reasons. Actually three. Number one is because once you understand how to decode this oil, you will be able to understand how to do it for a whole bunch of oils. So it's super beneficial to understand how you can interpret this architecture, because it will help you understand at least 10-15 very similar essential oils that just happened also not to have a lot of research on them and a lot of information written how to use them. So it's that much more valuable, because using the essential architecture, as you see, there are many ways to use this for therapeutic reasons, which will come later. With essential oil architecture, we follow the steps, and the first thing we do is we'll look at the smell. So this is quite simple to decode, because most of the oil's architecture is orange, and orange is monoterpenes. And we talked about them many times with other oils as well. And they're very easy to interpret, because monoterpenes are a high note that has a lower intensity. So this particular oil is going to be mainly the high note, which tells me right away I want to blend this oil if I want it to have a smell that lasts anything more than 15-20 minutes, because this whole part is going to evaporate that quickly. Also, you want something that has a more complex smell. This is very singular. But what confuses a lot of people with these oils is the sesquiterpenes. And the reason why it's so confusing is because monoterpenes are a high note and sesquiterpenes are a lower note. And it's hard to define the oil, because there is enough of this green area to be noticed. So it's not like when you smell something like a lemon, when 90% or more of the oil is monoterpene, so it's unquestionably a high note. This has enough other things in it to confuse you. And it's a beautiful example of why essential oils should not be categorized in just one note, because they just can't. Most of them can't. Most of them are already a beautiful blend. So this is going to tell you that what you want with this oil to make it the smell nice and complete. What you really want to add to this oil is a lot of middle note, because monoterpene esters are a middle towards a low note, but not enough. We have like 3% here, which is very little. You want to have at least 20-30% of some middle note for the smell to be nice and rounded. So this oil, I'm definitely going to blend it with something that has a middle note and perhaps a little bit more of a bottom note as well. So it would be nice to blend with something like, well, lavender is a middle note, so you can do it with that. Or you can blend it with geranium or with something like a chamomile. Those are all middle notes. If you don't want to go for a flowery smell, a middle note would also be like a rosemary. But I wouldn't suggest rosemary here because rosemary already has a lot of monoterpenes. Here, I would suggest something else like, what is a middle note and it's not? Like a melissa. Melissa would be interesting because it's going to give, it has citral, which is a middle note, but it also has beta-caryophyllene, which is a bottom note. So it's nicely going to complement this because it has both the bottom and the middle note as well. Okay, so regarding the smell that you have covered what is the main the dominating note is high note. However, we do have enough sesquiterpenes, enough low note to be smelled at some point, and that confuses many people that this kind of oils are not are they a high note or are they not? You can't really place them as a middle note because you don't have enough middle notes, and that explains why we are confused about it, because we're looking at essential oils as just one note when it's in most cases not true. Then you can go on and tell your client that if you want a harmonious blend, because we're aromatherapists, you have to be able to first of all explain the aroma, that this is missing mainly the middle note and perhaps add a little bit more of a bottom note. Otherwise, it's gonna, the smell, most of the smell of this orange is going to evaporate within the first 20 minutes. So that's smell-wise. Now, if you wanna go into therapeutic, so aromatherapy, we have a lot to work with because monoterpenes, especially the ones that you see, again, the same ones repeat. That's why I have so much emphasis on essential architecture, because it's just bypasses all these questions. You can say so much about the therapeutic part because we have repetitive constituents. Alpha pinene, limonene, we talked about most of these already, and we saw them in some other oils. And we have research on a lot of them. So because of that, I can tell you with great confidence, even though I don't know the name of the oil, I was already able to describe the smell, but I can also tell you what to use it for. It's almost 90% antibacterial. Then let's look at antimicrobial first. So we have antibacterial, antifungal at 76%, antiviral over 70. So this oil is great for all sorts of microbes and infections. And as I said, in other examples, you can go and see which exact bacteria it's active on to be even more specific and even better at targeting your results. So great oil for all sorts of things that you want to use antimicrobial oils, and that could be for even for cleaning home. You will see that these types of oils, and you can start guessing what it is now because you know a lot about it. A lot of these oils that come from this area, and I'll tell you at the end what it is, we find them useful for cleaning surfaces, homes, kitchens, floors, things like that. But you can also disinfect the air. Often these oils, even though, let's say I don't even know which oil this is, I can say that this is an oil that we can diffuse in the air to disinfect air for different kind of infections. This would be great for respiratory. You can see why. The next thing you can see that it's an antioxidant, also useful for so many things, analgesic at a high percentage, antinoseptive, so the antispasmodic. So also this oil would be great for different kinds of pain. Great for pain, whether you're doing a massage blend or you're just making maybe some recipe. Penetration enhancer at a very high percentage. So often oils like this, you will see, don't have a lot of research, but their architecture, their constituents too, and you can see that it's penetration enhancer because of a combination of different constituents. And that's why the smart calculator is so smart, because it calculates it for you. If you knew that about limonene, but maybe you didn't know about alpha and beta pinene, you wouldn't think that it's a penetration enhancer at such a high percentage, which is good to know when you're creating blends. A great repellent, look how many: repellent, insecticidal, larvicidal. That's all on different bugs and mosquitoes. You can see what to use it for. So great for that as well as a great repellent. And then just so much more. Look, antidepressant at 35%, and that's, I think, beta pinene. Yes, no, limonene. Great. So many ways. Anti-ulcer, so it could be great, for example, for acne, for so many reasons. For different reasons, it's going to be useful for acne, for pain, and so much more. Look, the list goes on and on. So as you see, just by looking at its architecture, we already pretty much decoded its aroma, because it's a simple aroma. This is quite simple. And what is missing? This particular oil, in my professional perspective, needs to be blended with something from aroma perspective, because it's missing 1.5 note. It's missing the whole middle note. Well, it had just 3%. But when I blend it, I will probably need to add a little bit more of a bottom note to make it a nice round smell. From the therapeutic perspective, looking at the data, I just have so many, I can pretty much use it for almost anything. Definitely for all the typical things we use oils from, which is a whole palette of pain, then for infections, including respiratory system, for repellents, for moods, and this would be okay for skincare. I don't see anything that that would be problematic, except with monoterpenes, we do need to be careful because they oxidate quickly. So if this oil, also you can tell then to your client or whoever you are explaining this oil to, is that because of such a quantity of monoterpenes, you should use this oil within a year and then change it. And then you shouldn't use it anymore because it will oxidize. So that's another thing you can see just from architecture. Now take a minute or two and guess this oil before I reveal it. And the first thing I like to do is compare this data to what we know about the oil. And this particular oil shows beautifully why essential oil architecture is so useful and so valuable. And that is that although we know about this oil, so you can see that people have written about it, people do know how to use it for some things. So people do use it to refresh the air, for different kind of pain, for infections, like I said. So we already guessed all of this, just not guessed, but know all of this from the essential architecture. We can say it with certainty and with proof, but we also actually know more than that. So you can see how knowing essential architecture and being able to read the smart calculator is going to tell you how to use it with so much more certainty and reasoning, rationale, because for anxiety, you do have, for example, I saw that antidepressant action. So you do have some constituents that work on the mood. For pain, we just have so many things. that can add up to be good for pain. Respiratory conditions, yes, but all sorts of infections, not just respiratory. So you can go beyond that once you understand. I don't see acne here, and I think it would be great for acne when I look at all of these. So see, safety also, we were quite accurate, just skin sensitization if oxidized. So you can understand all of this just from the architecture. And from scientific properties, not many on this particular essential oil, but look how much more information that we have from scientific references by looking at the essential oil architecture. So now I'm going to show you which oil it is, and it is silver fir needle. So the reason I wanted to show you this oil is because many oils come from needles and furs. They're distilled from the needle, and they have similar structure. So they have a lot of monoterpenes, and then this is colorful, this area. And a lot of these forest smells are tricky. They are, you can feel the monoterpenes when you inhale them, that they're high, but then there's something bringing them down. So you will see in books and in some websites, they're either put as high notes or as low notes because they have both. But it's confusing. Then people don't really know, what is it? Is it a high note or a low note? Well, it's actually both. It's a majority of it is a high note, but then later you will feel those sesquiterpenes, you will smell them, and that's what's so confusing. But understanding the entire architecture is going to help you blend better, not just better, but accurate and professionally, because you will know what's really going on. Now, I also wanted to show you this oil because we know so much about a few of these oils that are distilled from the needles, but we have a lot of them, and that's what I wanted to show you here with Dropsmart. So how you can also search this for yourself is you go to the advanced filter and you go to plant part that was distilled, and in this case it is the needle, and you will see that we have a lot of oils and they all look similar. So a lot of information we have for Scots pine. Most of the information is for Scots pine, but look how many other firs and pines and spruce and all of these oils that are distilled from the needles. We have a rich variety, and then probably wherever you are in the world, maybe you have some local distillers that distill very specific needle trees in your area. So again, what to do with that? And here, please notice, as I said, most of it is monoterpenes, but then you have this chunk that is something else, and that's what confuses people. That's what doesn't smell like a lemon when you're clear that it's a fresh and high note, fresh smell and high note. But here there's something pulling you down, and you're right. It's these sesquiterpenes. This is middle note. This is middle to bottom. So, and sometimes it's a bigger chunk. But as you see, they have a similar structure. And that's what's gold with essential architecture, is that when you understand how to read the structure, the essential architecture, then it doesn't really matter if the oil does or doesn't have research. So let me click on something else, something more rare, like let's say this one. See, this one has very little, like pretty much nothing on it, but we have much more research here. And so it's the same for any other of these. Most of them don't have a lot of information on the oil itself, but we have a lot of information on what the constituents are for. So the architecture is really going to explain it well, what to use it for, but also explain why it's so difficult to to determine the smell. So that's for today. We are talking about silver fir needle and this combination here for the aroma and the magnificent combination of the essential architecture that brings us so much therapeutic value as well. So for today, I wanted to show you this oil because I feel that it's going to help you understand so many more. You can understand all of these other oils that are distilled from needles because it's a similar base, and you'll be able to explain the aroma and understand the therapy. And that is why I chose to show you this oil in this particular lesson.